Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday. All right, I'm going to give it a couple of minutes, give folks time to join the chat, and then we'll get started. I see some folks are on the live. I don't see anybody in the chat yet. So I'm going to wait for a few minutes and see if we have some folks show up today. I see quite a few people on the live, nobody in the chat. Y'all not saying good morning today? Okay, there's a good morning. Good morning. Bridget, good morning. Hey, Robert. How you been? Happy Sunday to you, Bridget. Happy Sunday to everybody. I hope everybody is well. Thank y'all for being here. Hello, Tanya. Happy Sunday. All right, I'm giving it a couple of minutes. I am not going to be on long today. So I'm going to give folks a chance to join and then I'll get started. I hope everybody's having a good Sunday. It is cloudy. We've been having rain and storms the last couple of days, so it's a bit cloudy here. Not my favorite, but happy to be here. Happy to have gotten up this morning to see the cloudy Sunday, so there's that. All right, I'll go ahead and get started. Hopefully some other folks will have a chance to join. If not, we'll go with what we got and enjoy our company. Everybody is here. I appreciate y'all. So as I introduce myself, I am Jewel Pearson. Hey there. As I introduce myself, I share that I built a tiny house in 2015 because my why is I want to live in no freedom. My tiny house is fancy because I don't believe you have to give up luxury to go tiny. I am a social entrepreneur, lifestyle architect and strategist, and a longtime advocate for intentional living and representation in the movement, in the tiny house movement. I want us to see ourselves in this movement. And after living tiny for a little over a decade, I use my experience and my expertise to help others who are interested in the movement. I help them create intentional and self-defined lives through home design, through downsizing, through community, even folks who aren't interested in tiny houses. I feel like that's what we do here in community. And if you'd like to connect with me, once the video goes live, you will see links to do so in the video description below. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please do so now. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, do all the things so that you will know when we're over here and when stuff is going live. As I share here on Sundays, it's not just about the tiny house. It is also about clarity, alignment, and liberation. And so that's what we do and talk about over here. So we'll start. Let's get into today's session. Thank you, Bridget. I'm glad you liked the thumbnail this morning. Today's discussion is, and we talk about this often, but everybody can't go. And that is people, places, and things. Everybody can't go. And so that's what we're talking about today. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I am Tanya. Thank you. I started my research in 2012 and started building my house in 2014, finished it 2015. So I've been here for a minute. I always share that I was here living in my house when people just thought I was a weirdo. And they didn't understand tiny houses, and now it's a whole thing. So yeah, I was. Thank you very much for that note. So we are talking about how everybody can't go, Rosalind, people, places, and things. And this is something that I often call out, especially as we are dreaming new dreams. Everybody can't go. And um, it's often a hard conversation, but we're going to have this conversation today. And I always share these conversations aren't just for y'all. These are conversations that I have with myself, reminders that I have with myself. So um, sharing that with you all. And as I've shared about my tiny house journey, it has been for me so much more than just downsizing. It has been about intentional living. It has been an intentional journey toward peace and liberation. Good morning. My why for tiny living is, as I just shared, I want to live in no freedom. And that has been my why before I even started my build. I've shared with folks that I had a binder that as I was doing my research, I still have my binder. As I was doing my research about tiny houses, I was collecting information. In the front plastic cover of that binder was a picture of a tiny house. And on that, it says, I want to live in no freedom. That is my why. And one of the main things that I have learned along this intentional journey is that when you set out on your journey, when you set out and you're dreaming new dreams, everybody can't go with you. That's not just about people. It is, people, places, and things. And some things just can't make the trip. And so when I moved into my tiny house, I had to let go of a lot. Um, Furniture, I let go of clothes, some habits. It's a continual, I always share that. Um, in the beginning, I had downsized tremendously over the course of 10 years from a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house where I raised my daughter to a 1-bedroom, 1-bath just before I built my tiny house. So I had gotten down to what I consider my favorite things, because I believe you shouldn't have things that you just don't adore in your house. So I had gotten down to those things. I also have shared that for quite some time, I still had a storage because I wasn't, tiny house living was new. I wasn't exactly sure that it was going to be something I was going to be able to do for the long term. It was new, so I wanted to set myself up so that if I had decided at any point I didn't want to live tiny anymore, I still had some of my favorite things to go back into, an apartment and a house or whatever. But I downsized a lot. And it's a continual, the downsizing, people, places, and things, because you don't just downsize once and you're good. It's a continual. I've also shared that as you start living your dreams and leaning into an intentional journey, and my intentional journey is centered around peace. When you start leaning into those dreams and that new journey or doing something new, sometimes it's not just about you downsizing things. Sometimes people will downsize you, and so that's a real thing. Not everybody can't go. Sometimes it's a decision you make, and sometimes it's a decision that people make for you. So the physical downsizing in this journey for me, it's the same in life. When you choose dreams, when you choose peace, um, when you choose more, when you choose better, whatever it is that you want to call it. There are people and places and things that simply can't come with you. And what I often find myself doing, which is why we're having this conversation, and which is something I think we all will find ourselves sometimes doing as you're going on that new journey and you are discovering a peace like no other. Um, the joy that comes along with that. That I feel like the natural thing, what I know I find myself doing is trying to direct the people that I love to their own journey of peace, of more, of better, of whatever it is. Because you see your people and you see their stress, you see their struggles, you see their dysfunction. And if you're a decent human being, you want more for them. You want better for them. You want peace for them. You want all of the things that you're discovering that are life changing for you. You want you want those same things for those people. And the truth of the matter is sometimes they don't want it for themselves. They just don't. And when you think about it, dysfunction, as unhealthy as it is also familiar. And familiar can feel safe. If it's even if it's dysfunctional, and sometimes they know it's dysfunctional, sometimes they might not, but it's safe. It's a habit. It's something I've done for years. I've allowed this person to treat me this way for years. I've gone to this place that's not the best place for me for years. I've had this habit that's not the best thing for me for years. I know it's not the best decision for me. I know it's not more, better. I know it doesn't represent peace, but I've done it for years. It feels comfortable. It feels safe. And um so your desire for them to want peace, to want more, to want better isn't necessarily their same desire. And that's when you have to do the self reality check. And I have to remind myself, or say to myself, I can't want the peace. I can't want the more. I can't want the better. I can't want the less dysfunction for somebody more than they want it for themselves. In this conversation, I'm not necessarily talking about addiction, but we know that this is a conversation in the world of addiction. How, people will say parents dealing with children with addiction, or families dealing with folks with addiction will say they've done all of the things and tried all of the things to offer that person better, offer that person more, offer that person peace. But until that person wants it for themselves, um, until that person sometimes has to hit rock bottom to want it for themselves, until that happens, until they decide that that's the direction that they're going to go into, no matter how much you want it for them, you can't want it more for them than they want it for themselves. And so if it's coming back to myself, just like I made choices to let go, made choices for intentional living, continue to make those choices. those same people have to decide for themselves that they are ready to step into something different, to want more, to want peace, to want better for themselves. Um, hey, Teresa. And the reality of it is that might not ever be a decision that they make. Um, hey there. It it might not be a decision that they ever make. And when you think about, some of the situations that you know of where people are where you're observing that the situation is dysfunction. If it involves multiple people, if they've been doing it for a long time, if um, they feel responsible for other people that lead into the dysfunction, change is highly unlikely. You can hope that they want to, but change is highly unlikely. Um, and it's unfortunate that we also know that people sometimes are scared of better, are scared of peace. Sometimes there are people who live to function in dysfunction. It doesn't make sense to me, but I know people who thrive in dysfunction. Um, Oftentimes it draws attention to those people to be able to be like, "What was me? This is happening," and um, it gives them, I guess, a sense of purpose in a way. It might not, it doesn't fit my definition of purpose, but it gives them something to do, something that makes them feel like people are paying attention to them or people are caring for them in this dysfunction. Now, sometimes people get tired and recognize this is um, this is a continual. I would agree with that, Robert. Sometimes people will walk away from that and recognize that person just thrives on dysfunction and I can't continue to be involved. But there are some people who will support the dysfunction, or sometimes they get new people who come in and they're like, oh my God, let me figure out how to help this person. And so it continually gives them the fuel to continue in their dysfunction. Maybe sometimes people just don't know no better. Everybody ain't able. Everybody can't go and everybody ain't able. Um, the visions that you have for what peace looks like, the visions that you have for more, the visions that you have for better, the visions that you have for joy, for them, for yourself, they can't envision it. They don't see it. Or maybe they do and they don't want it because again, dysfunction is comfortable. More, better, peace can be scary. What will I do if I'm not in, as Robert said, if I'm not in hyper mode and the my nervous system, as Robert, the hyperness, the nervous system, I'm not always amped up because it's dysfunction around me and it keeps me going and I can keep arguing, I can keep doing these things that keep my nervous system amped up because peace looks like quiet and relaxation and everybody is not interested in that. So you can't want it more for them. Note to self, reminder to self. Yes, peace looks like calm. Absolutely. That was another word I think I was trying to come up with. Thank you. Um, You can't want peace, you can't want more, you can't want better, you can't want calm, um, more for people who don't want it for themselves. They have to decide, as Bridget is saying, it has to come from inside that person. You can't want it for them. They got to want it for themselves. And they have to be ready to step into something different. They have to be ready to do the hard work, because it is hard work to stay the path. It is hard work to flip the switch from an amped up nervous system to calm. And but that's something that they have to do. And again, this is what we're talking about is very similar to the journey that we know is folks dealing with addiction have to face. It is a total life change most of the time. If it's big dysfunction, if it's big change, if it's big more, if it's big better, then that's totally the opposite from what that person has been living, been experiencing, and change is scary. And so they may not ever get to that same place. And so we have a responsibility. I have a responsibility to protect my peace, to protect my intentional journey. That's what my responsibility is, to live it, to model it. In addition to protecting my peace, I remind myself I also experienced a stroke. And though I am able in a lot of ways, I'm not in a lot of other ways. And yes, I agree with that, Robert. So my whole job is my whole responsibility is to protect my peace. And that's hurtful sometimes when it's people you love and you have to make the decision to choose self. Um, it's hard. It makes you feel selfish. Um, makes you wonder if you're doing the right thing. And obviously, I'm talking about grown-ups. I'm not, and grown-ups also apply to adult children. I'm not talking about folks young folks that you're responsible for in your house that you have to navigate through things until they are grown. We still have a responsibility there. We can't turn it off on them. But adult children are something else. Grown folks are something else. Close folks are something else. It doesn't matter. If they are grown, they are responsible for self. And my responsibility is to protect my peace. My responsibility is, hey there. My responsibility is self-preservation. My responsibility is to live this life that I asked for, this life that I designed, to model what peace can look like, and hopefully hope that in this journey that you're inspiring somebody else. Um share, I share my life because I do want to inspire other folks. I've never ever said my life is without challenge, so not saying that at all. but my life is without dysfunction. Um, the thing is, you cannot drag anybody into peace, into more, into better, into dreaming a new dream. You can't drag anybody into that. If they are of sane mind, then they get to make those decisions, and you, as long as they get to make those decisions. You don't want, you really don't want it to be a situation where the person is in harm. But if we again think about addicts, they are in harm, and at some point they're adults, and there's a limit to your responsibility. And um that's hard. We know that is so much of the conversation in life today, and very hard watching people have to deal with that, because they're causing themselves harm, but they have to choose the peace, the more, the better for themselves. I agree with that, Bridget. Um, and this is a constant conversation, constant reminder. Because when you care about folks, when you try to be a good person, when you want to love on other people, and you want better for other people, you see opportunities, you see where they possibly aren't living up to maybe they aren't living up to their full potential, or maybe they're in a situation, and if they just did this thing, or if they just stopped doing this thing, then you see where a major shift could happen for them, and they could be in peace, more, better. But it's not your choice, it's not your decision, it is not something you can force on other folks. And so you have to remind yourself your responsibility is you, and shake it off when it makes you feel sad for them. You can still you're gonna feel sad for them. If you're a decent person, you're gonna feel sad for them, but you just send them some love out in the universe, send them some peace, send them some more, some better, some wishes for more, better, love, peace, oh, an awakening, so that they can want to choose more for themselves and be willing to do the work. Because even if they say, I want to choose it, but they're not willing to do the work, and you end up doing the work, that's not what that how that works. So you put Bridget said, light a candle. You put some good energy out in the world for them. You pray for them, and hope that they get to that place. But ultimately, we have to know that everybody can't go, people, places, and things. And when people are showing you that they don't want peace, more, better, it dragging them along drags you down. Say you got to save yourself. Um, I'm sorry for that experience, Teresa. But Teresa is mentioning tough love. Yeah. Trying to drag folks to peace, more, better, grown folks, is likely going to drag you. Self, looking out for self, and not saying that from a selfish way, just like Teresa said, tough love. Self-preservation, preserving your peace, choosing your peace is sometimes the necessary route that you have to go, because and you can't want more, better, peace, all of the things for folks that don't want it for themselves. Um, so I my and it's again a constant, something that we have to continue to remind ourselves. And sometimes you might be in a situation and not even realize you're in the situation because you're trying to guide them and go out of your way to do things, to include, to show, to represent, and not realize that you're overcompensating in some ways to try to pull that person along. Sometimes we have to release that responsibility and stay focused and rooted in our own journey and choose self, because everybody can't go. People, places, and things. All right. I remind us to protect our peace, to stay intentional, to keep walking our journeys, whatever that journey looks like, keep becoming who we are supposed to become, and keep modeling, or who we're becoming, not who we're supposed to become, who we're becoming in our journey, and keep modeling, keep sharing. It's important to share your joy, because the other thing that knowing somebody is not in that place can have you doing is downplaying your joy because they're in dysfunction, and it'll have you uncomfortable in your happiness. Sometimes you need to push through that, because no, I'm not crying. But thank you, Robert. I might I usually will, but I'm not right now. But thanks for the hug. Because other folks are experiencing hardship, dysfunction, and stuff that they've created. It'll have you downplaying your joy and downplaying your experiences and downplaying your happiness and peace. And I suggest that you don't do that, so that you can model what peace and joy and happiness looks like, to inspire folks. It may not inspire them. Sometimes it can backfire and make them have some resentment toward you, and that's not your fault. Um, that's because they haven't done the work. Um, Tanya is saying, I'm 76, my son is 56. I spent a major part of his life creating a soft place for him to fall. As I age, I haven't noticed him creating a soft place for me to fall. So I have shifted my mindset. You know what? That is a beautiful thing. It's a hard thing. It's a sad thing, but it is a beautiful thing that you are recognizing that and shifting. Because we know that is a major conversation in our communities. It is a major conversation in the caregiving that I'm responsible for. And sometimes folks will get to older age, sometimes the mamas will get to older age and still not be able to make that shift, to their own detriment. And that's something that I am dealing with firsthand in my caregiving. Um, so I'm congratulations to you. Um, Congratulations to you that you recognize it and are willing to make the shift. That's big. Um, Mamas and their boys. It's often a challenge. It's not just me stating that. I know from conversations in caregiving with doctors. And I thought it was just something in the Black community, but in conversations with doctors, in conversations with um, white friends that I have, it is a challenge with the men when it comes to caregiving, and when it comes to how mamas deal with their sons, and then later on, the shift doesn't happen, or the shift to adulthood doesn't happen for said male. The the girl children are assigned a lot of responsibility. Um, and again, I thought it was just our community, but I am learning that it is not. So, congratulations to you. That's beautiful. I mean, it's sad but beautiful that you are shifting your mindset. Um, Love catching blessings is saying when you display your wins, a lot of times people label you as showing off or bragging. Absolutely. And you really have to get to the point where you say, so yes. Um that's that's what it comes down to. Really, it is them not being in the place to have been able to be able to do the work. And instead it come when they see someone thriving, um or see someone just being in peace and enjoying, um their envy shows up instead of wanting to understand what is that person doing, how can I be like that person, how can I be more like that person. It shows up as envy. Rosalind says sometimes you got to pop out and show them. Kendrick told us sometimes you got to pop out and show them. I love Kendrick for that. It One of the things I love about the younger folks, they popping out and showing folks. The older folks, myself included, who've grown up around big conversations around bragging and boasting, and especially from a religious perspective, it's a harder conversation. But sometimes you got to pop out and show them. I agree, Rosalind. Um, so absolutely, it does create resentment. Hey there. But that's not your issue. That's their issue to deal with. And they may never deal with it. Not everybody being better, doing better, wanting more, wanting peace. It's hard work. Shedding dysfunction. Um all of that is hard work. And not everybody is able to do the hard work. Like I said earlier, the dysfunction, and again, a lot of people know it's dysfunction, but it's easy to stay in that dysfunction. It is comfortable to stay in that dysfunction versus bucking the dysfunction and rocking the boat and making changes that everybody's not going to be comfortable with. Or saying, I mean, sometimes it's simply saying no and establishing boundaries. Not folks ain't gonna be comfortable with that. And um so you'll end up, or some people will end up backing down and staying in said situation because there's conflict associated with establishing boundaries. There's conflict associated with choosing peace, choosing yourself, choosing change, choosing more, choosing better. The conflict associated with it from people who are generally takers, users, those types of folks who don't want you to choose peace, more, better, because then that limits what they can get from you, what they can take from you, how they can abuse you, how they can disrespect boundaries. And so when folks are trying to head in those directions, it's hard work because you're bucking a situation or a system of sorts that's in place, that's been in place. For Tanya, it's a system that's been in place for almost, a long time, of somebody who's 56 years old. So they've been used to you providing that soft place for them to fall. And so to choose self for you that's the hard work, because that person, that 56-year-old, has come to have certain expectations because you've done these things for how many, however long you've been doing these things. And so that's why I say congratulations um to choose after many years to do something different is um it's tough. It's hard work because those folks gonna be angry with you. You've always done, why are you now saying no? Catherine is saying no to folks and you saying yes to me. Why are you changing now? And you're being mean. You're, all of those things. And their anger should be self-directed, but most times we know it's not. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, their anger is misdirected where they should be angry, at 56, and again in a similar caregiving situation, um, with someone who has a similar situation at 56, with a mother who has cared for you for all of your life, has made that soft space for you. The loving thing to do is to give back. And when you don't see that happening, you have a right to question their love for you, because love and giving and doing it, there's some reciprocity in that. As a parent, you give to your child, but as they age and do and become, there should be some reciprocity in there, and not continue the path of taking. And so, um, and that is when we have to choose self. If it's not happening, you choose self, and it sounds selfish. It makes you feel like you're doing something mean. It makes you feel uncomfortable. But it's necessary. You get to choose self. You should be choosing self. You should be choosing peace. You should be choosing more. You should be choosing better. When you know better, you do better. And so, that's what we have to do. And we have to recognize everybody can't go. People, places, and things, um, folks close to us, everybody can't go. Reject is saying takers take. And they're going to keep taking as long as you give. And they don't, takers take. They don't have boundaries. And one of my big things for me many years ago in therapy where I would often feel resentment toward people who I had given to, who possibly had done something wrong to me, or when I needed something they weren't willing to give to me. And I would be angry with that person. Um, what therapy taught me many years ago is I can't be angry at them. I can only be angry with myself. I am the giver. They can't take from me if I'm not giving. So they were being consistent in who they were. They are consistently a taker. The only thing I can control is me. And only person I can be mad at is me, because I continue to give. And that realization is what Bridget just said. They're going to continue to take. And that realization of who they are is it should be a wake up for us to say, okay, I know who this person is. Now I know how to deal with it or deal with them. And it goes back to the only thing that I can control is me. And so it is up to me to deal with them in a different manner. It is up to me to not continue to be the giver and to just put myself out there to be abused and misused. I'm not saying don't give. I'm a giver. But it is up to me, it is up to us to recognize when we're being misused. And it is up to us to establish those boundaries. It is up to us to recognize that the only thing we can control is us. And when you know better, you do better. You can't be mad at them folks for being consistently who they are. You can only be mad at yourself for consistently allowing somebody to take from you. You can be mad at yourself for not recognizing that takers are going to take, and the giver should establish some boundaries. When you know better, do better. Everybody can go, people, places, and things. We have to choose ourselves. Self-preservation is everything. We can model peace, we can model more, we can model better, we can model dreams, we can model intentional living. We can, did I say joy already? I think I said joy. We can model the lifestyle as we're living that lifestyle. Absolutely, Robert. We can model all of those things because we only get this one life. And the last thing you want to do, the last thing we want in this life is regrets. I don't want to get to, I don't want to get to my ripe old age and be like, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. I want to live that. I want to live in no freedom. And I hope that me modeling it, me sharing, inspires other people. I hope that it inspires the people that I want better for to want better for themselves. But it's not my responsibility to do the work for them. If they don't want it for themselves, then you have to respect those choices. as awful as it might make you feel. And I know that firsthand. As awful as it might make you feel that somebody is choosing dysfunction that is disturbing their peace, and you want more, better care for them, you want joy for them, you want peace for them, you want them to be treated better. If they don't choose that for themselves, then you have to respect that. Thank y'all. All right. That's all I got for y'all today. That's it. That's all I got. I got work to do. I was going to sit outside. I hear it's starting to rain over here again. So maybe that makes me stay inside and get my work done. I have a master class starting tomorrow. It is the last master class for 2025. So if you're trying to get in the master class, today would be the day to sign up for it. What else do I have for y'all? I think that's all I have. My Patreon folks, I'll be seeing y'all soon in person. And I'm looking forward to that. Let's see what else I got. I think that's all I got. Links to schedule with me, links for the masterclass. All of that is in the video description for the folks in the future. Thank y'all for watching. All the links. Trying to find my cut and paste so I can drop it in the chat so you can click on it. I'm going to have it in just a second. Here we go. Y'all know I got to get organized a little bit sometimes. Okay, here's the link. Thank you, Teresa. For my courses and things. Let me cut that off. Masterclass launches tomorrow. You can still sign up today. It's a 4-week self-paced course, so you can sign up later. And I'll be closing registration probably in about a week. But again, this is the last masterclass of the year, so join me. Thank you, Teresa. I appreciate that. Very welcome. Everybody, happy Sunday. Thank y'all for being here. I appreciate y'all. Teresa's saying that free will thing is a beast. Absolutely. All right. Happy Sunday. Have a good week, everybody. And we'll talk again soon. Take care.